I have been working tirelessly with our digital forensics team, listening to these jail calls to figure out if we can provide some information that can be helpful in finding these individuals, at least to know where they are. We're going to keep doing that.
Orleans DA Jason Williams updates the latest his office is doing to try and track down the 7 escaped inmates who are still on the run tonight. Good evening and thanks for watching. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Cherise Gibson. So tonight we have a lot of new information on the response to that jailbreak, but no new arrests since Friday night, unfortunately. So here is the latest. State Representative Amy Freeman, she's now calling for Orleans Sheriff Susan Hudson to resign. Freeman says Hudson's responsibility is to keep inmates in custody, and she failed. Rather than take accountability, Hudson has pointed fingers elsewhere. State Rep and Chair of the Criminal Justice Committee, Debbie Villios, says Hudson's complaints about a lack of funding they're part of the reason why she supports Governor Jeff Landry's order for an audit of the Orleans Sheriff's Office and an investigation by the State Inspector General. We've learned she will add an amendment to a bill to require adult jail facilities report escapes to the media. That is within 10 minutes, something we talked about last week, just like the law we've been reporting on that requires alerts on escapes from juvenile jails. And the rewards have been increased for information leading to an arrest, with FBI, ATF, and Crime Stoppers rewards totaling $20,000. Now you can find all of that information on who to contact on our website, WWLTV.com.
As those 7 armed and dangerous inmates continue to avoid capture, political leaders are placing blame about why and how the jailbreak happened.
We knew that this would happen Sunday. Governor Landry criticized DA Jason Williams, but Alyssa Curtis reports today Williams came with receipts.
Linton Van Buren, charged with battery of a correctional facilities employee. That case was refused because the sheriff's office failed to provide reports.
Monday, Orleans District Attorney Jason Williams defended himself after just a day before Governor Landry unleashed blame for a massive jailbreak.
Had they gone to trial, had they been convicted, had they been sentenced, they will most likely not be in Orleans Parish Jail, but in our custody.
A frustrated Governor Landry says everyone except the police should take accountability, pointing directly to a pileup of cases.
My understanding is that the Orleans Parish Jail is beyond capacity because, again, the cases are not moving, such as 9 of the 10 escapees. Now, there is no excuse for the escape of these violent offenders. There is also no excuse for the way these cases are currently being mismanaged.
But Williams says they're not just sitting around waiting.
Jury trials were shut down for more than a year, which means it created a backlog. And so you add that backlog to the ongoing issues with the DNA backlog from the crime lab. A case is not allowed to go forward if all the evidence can be presented.
Williams says even without the COVID and crime lab backlog, criminal court is already a busy place. But that wasn't the end of Landry's criticism. Landry also placed fault on the DA for refusing charges several of the escaped inmates acquired while in custody.
Kendall Miles, Lenton Vanberg were charged with battery on correctional officers. Those charges were refused by the district attorney.
But Williams said if he doesn't have evidence, he can't charge.
The simple answer is we never got the evidence from the sheriff's office. Sheriff's office, without evidence in a case, we can't move forward. We can't ethically file charges if we don't have the contraband that was recovered, if we don't have the body-worn camera footage that was used.
Williams shared several letters he sent to Sheriff Hudson requesting evidence so he could charge. Williams said he would have shown them to the governor had he just asked. Alyssa Curtis, WWL Louisiana.
And we've obtained another piece of video that shows the suspects on the run. So take a look at your screen here. One of these men is Kendall Miles, and the video was taken near where he was arrested on Friday morning in the 200 block of Royal Street. So we're working to identify this other escapee who is in this video. The video was shared from the crime camera program Project NOLA from a camera in the 100 block of Bourbon Street. The Orleans Parish DA's office says some of his staff fled town after they heard about this jailbreak. Jason Williams says some staff members are currently in hiding because they're scared something could happen to them or to their families, while potentially armed and dangerous men are at large. He says the people connected to the case involving Derek Groves, for instance, a man awaiting sentencing for manslaughter since October of last year, could be at risk.
The lawyers who tried that case with me the witnesses who were brave enough to come forward and stare Derek Groves down in that courtroom, the next of kin who sat in that courtroom, knowing what he did to their family members. We are all the ones in harm's way.
And tonight at 6, Eleanor Tabone explains how officials feel the escape is putting not just the public at risk, but also the very people who helped put these men behind bars.
This afternoon, the judge overseeing the reforms at the Orleans Justice Center, Judge Lance Afric, held an emergency status conference to talk about the long-standing consent decree at the jail. It comes as New Orleans City Councilman, one of them, questions whether the prison reforms are being followed at OJC. Paul Murphy joining us live tonight with new details from that meeting. Paul?
Katie, that status conference broke up here at federal court about an hour ago. Judge Lance Afric called state and local officials into his chambers to talk about Friday's prison break. He also wanted to know what steps are now being taken to secure the Orleans Justice Center. Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson was ordered into federal court for an emergency meeting with Judge Lance Afric. Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrow and representatives from the State Department of Corrections and the City of New Orleans were also summoned to appear. Judge Afric is overseeing a long-standing consent decree mandating sweeping reforms at the Orleans Justice Center. He has concerns about Friday's escape of 10 inmates at OJC. The jailbreak happened around 12:30 in the morning. Prison staff didn't notice the inmates were gone for at least 8 hours. A.G. Murrow said Judge Afric scheduled the status conference to get an update on Friday's prison break.
We wanted to reassure the judge that what our priorities are, they haven't changed. They are to recover the individuals who are have not been recovered yet, make sure that public safety is being addressed, and address security and stability at the prison.
The federal consent decree has covered operations at the Orleans Justice Center since 2013. Among the court-ordered reforms is a mandate that correctional officers conduct appropriate rounds at least once during every 30-minute period at irregular times inside each general population housing unit and at least once every 15-minute period of special management prisoners. According to New Orleans City Council member Joe Giarrusso, it doesn't appear that mandate is being followed at OJC.
Nobody's doing anything. Nobody sees anybody escaping. Nobody sees any of the video. Nobody is rounding. So it's really a black box from 12:30 in the morning till about 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning. And look, time is of the essence when these things happen.
According to A.G. Murrow, Judge Afric has requested all parties regroup in his chambers in about a week and a half. In the meantime, the Department of Corrections is doing a physical assessment of OJC.
They're going to look at the current situation. One of the things that we've had conversations about with the sheriff are the doors, sliding doors, swinging doors, locks, things like that, fencing.
And one of the remedies at Judge Afric's disposal is to actually appoint someone to run the jail, which was done in the early days of the consent decree, and there's no indication that's going to happen anytime soon. We're live outside federal court in downtown New Orleans. Paul Murphy, WWL, Louisiana.
Thanks so much, Paul. Okay, now take another look at your screen right now. These are the photos of all of the inmates who have allegedly escaped. 3 of them have been arrested. They've been transferred to state-run jails outside of New Orleans.
Yeah, 7 of those inmates on this screen right now, they are still on the run. Victims or witnesses of their alleged crimes can call police for help if they're worried. We'll have more the suspects who are on the run coming up later on in this newscast.